Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're listening. Welcome back to AI and the Future of Work. Thanks again for making this one of the most downloaded podcasts about the future of work. If you enjoy what we do, please like, comment, and share in your favorite podcast app, and we'll keep bringing you great conversations. I'm your host, Dan Turchin, advisor at Insight Finder, the system of intelligence for IT operations, and CEO of PeopleRain, the AI platform for IT and HR employee service. It's often lonely being a CTO. The best days are when everything works and nobody notices. And the worst days are when there's a breach and your name ends up in the headlines. In between, the board expects you to drive the innovation agenda. And by the way, the budgets always seem to be getting cut in half, and you can never hire people fast enough. Well, today's guest is both a serial CTO and a professor of computer science at Northeastern University, having been a technology leader in the past at companies like HP and Motorola Mobility, which was acquired by Google. Dr. Samaha's research interests lie in the intersection between mobility, cybersecurity, and AI. He has a unique perspective on what's going on in academia, combined with what's happening in the real world. He has a global vantage point, having lived in Jordan, worked in Dubai, and trained in a combination of Silicon Valley and the Netherlands. I've really been looking forward to this one. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Samaha to the podcast. Dr. Samaha, why don't you get started by sharing a little bit more about your background and how you got into the space?
Thank you so much, Dan. My latest position is in ITU. I'm the CTO in that university as well. And I started my career working in Dubai as a network engineer and got trained by Oracle and worked in the Ministry of Education. Then I went to the Netherlands, did a lot of research in Eindhoven University. And when I came to the US, I started by working on networking. And I grew up in that role or career to be the wireless and mobility CTO in HP. What drives my progress in my career was the customers. I became kind of like the go-to person if they have a problem in the network, if they have like anomalies in software, etc. It reached to the point where our salespeople don't want to go to the meeting with the customer without somebody who's solid in IT, because you cannot sell if you don't show your own IT. So I did a lot of progress with the great mentors like, Phil McKinney and others. So I learned a lot and I reached to where I am. Got recruited to work with Motorola, mainly on security and mobile device management, their investments. Worked on a couple of acquisition, a huge platform for managing phones with China Mobile, and I was a chief architect there. And after Google bought Motorola, I decided to go do my PhD in itu.edu, the university, and after this got appointed as the head of the computer science and the CTO and run the CIO jobs as well.
You mentioned you were mentored by Phil McKinney. For those of you who don't know, the legendary CTO, former CTO of HP. Talk to us about what you learned from Phil McKinney.
What I observed Phil McKinney, and he gave me a lot of latitude to research in the I learned the white space area. If you see people going on a straight line in innovation, always look where they are not looking. So I learned that concept from him, and start applying it for mobile and security. And even I teach to my students, always look, don't follow the trend, because the trend normally is a straight line. Bigger screen, mobility is, wherever you see it, you want to go away from that into the white space. And these are the opportunities, and I focus a lot on that. In addition, I learned from him customers briefings. He trusts you. If he send you to a big deal, I'm talking about like not million, $1 billion deal. He doesn't question that. The way he trusts you, it gives you a lot of, a lot of confidence. So he's amazing for me. So I learned a lot. I learned how to trust people, not micromanage them. So this was a big learning for me. And yeah, that's about it. And innovation and how to deal with corporate antibodies in his killer innovation book. So a lot of things I cannot count.
There aren't many people who can successfully migrate from industry to academia or back the other way around. What has been the secret to your success doing both?
Well, I love education. In Dubai, I was writing books, the syllabus for almost most schools. I was doing. I migrated a lot of school from from using legacy programming into Windows programming. I was teaching Visual Basic for kids from grade 6 and go and above. I was teaching little kids kindergarten and others from the scholastic series. I was trying to do a lot in education. I enjoy education, and when the opportunity came, to do my PhD after Google acquired Motorola, I said, it's time for me to just go and study. And I felt I'm behind in AI, and I said, I want to restart. So I start working on GAN technology and PhD research there. And I continue to teach at the same time. Teaching is, something I can do forever. I love teaching. Because actually you learn from students. When you teach something, the best way to learn something is to teach it. That's what it is.
What makes the job of a CTO so hard?
Yeah, change is difficult in any organization, and when you try to go kind of like, I work with big corporates. When I went to Motorola, it was a piece of cake. It's only 30,000 employees, but when you have 200 or 300,000 employees and different divisions and contradictory strategies, it's a ship, and to steer the ship is very, very difficult. So you run into a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of what Phil calls antibodies, and so politics is very, very difficult, and change is difficult on some people who are in the leadership. That's what makes it difficult. They don't see we need to turn right, start now, so we are not behind. And they want to continue till they reach that point. And at that point, the ship cannot be turning 90 degrees, So it is the change and the mindset of people who don't want to accept new technologies, and that the world is changing, and the change is, exponential, not linear anymore.
So let's say there's a spectrum, and kind of on one side of the CTO's role, you have a very tactical set of obligations, and then the other side, there's a set of strategic obligations, maybe, informing the board about the direction of technology and being an innovator, a visionary. What's the right way to balance your time as a CTO? How do you know when you're spending too much time being tactical, or maybe even potentially too much time being a visionary?
You have to do the visionary while working. In my case, I work with the products, and in the education, I work with other department chairs. We balance it. Your vision, you should implement it within the business. You cannot. I can't separate both. Honestly, I don't spend. Here is 30%. Here's 60. I don't balance. I see it as one unit, and when I am working with the business people, I share the chunk what I want to do as a vision in small pieces, and try to implement it there and make it looks like their idea. Because if you are the visionary and you don't know how to integrate your ideas into the other side, you will not succeed. It's a delicate balance, but you have to do it jointly. chunk your ideas and vision, share it with the leadership. If they support it, you start implementing it with the other side,
Now, if you're in sales, you are measured by revenue. And if you're the CFO, you're measured by, let's say, profitability or margins. How are you measured as CTO?
For me, it is, for me, it's also, right now at this time, it's also reduce of, like the faster the product to market, the more customer satisfaction, I consider myself successful. Always I focus on the customer. Sometimes in some occasions I had to tell the customer, don't go for this product, which is against my salespeople. I've done it for BlackBerry. I said to big deals, do not do BlackBerry. I know my salespeople want it. Those big companies, 10 years ago, they don't know what's going to happen to BlackBerry. I had to give them my honest opinion, and I get measured by customer satisfaction. When a customer come to Phil and tell him I need Mamoun to work with my IT in my corporation for 1 week, I feel satisfied that the customer is happy and will continue working with us. I'm not driven by the salespeople. I'm driven with the right technology, the right solution for the customer. And as long as my management and the customer is happy, the management happy, I will be happy. So I think I always been measured by customer satisfaction. In the education, I'm measured by like how much my students get jobs. When I see a student landing a job, let's say 180, 140, I feel very, very proud that I did the right thing for the university. Also reducing expenses. Many corporations are stuck with old technology, moving them from having their own data center to the cloud. That by itself is very, very challenging. It needs somebody who understands architecture very, very well. So I'm also being measured on the choices I make in technology and how much I have reduced cost in the corporation. So always I try, I'm not looking at 10, 20% improvement. I'm talking about 50 to 90% change. I focus on the big things and the big numbers and how we can do. And these are so noticeable by the board and the management. So I'm satisfied as long as I achieve big accomplishment and reduce cost, and my customers are very, very satisfied. They don't come and I sell them something legacy because I have it.
So you're talking to a lot of entrepreneurs in the security space. As a CTO, when you're evaluating new products in today's kind of threat landscape, what are the technologies that are most compelling when you think about how to allocate your scarce budget?
See, what I do normally sometimes the solution might not be straight into the products. I look at the architecture, because probably in enterprise, a lot of vulnerabilities come from the architecture side. And the way, for example, in many occasions, people want to, and I'm going to talk history. Everybody loves VPN. I'm always against the VPN in terms of web application. I want to be on the cutting edge. I don't want everybody to use the traditional two factors. So basically, when it comes to budget, I have to look at the most efficient solution, and look at the budget to innovate based on latest technologies. And I'm not afraid of migration or changing the ship in this direction from now. So we start piloting a cutting edge solution that fits within the budget. Because if we continue what we are doing, probably IT doesn't have budget. Most corporations don't have budgets. Let's talk about implementing BlackBerry in everybody's hand. It's impossible. And some CIOs in a huge corporation told me our strategy is BlackBerry and it's dying. We know that because they don't know the trend. Consumerization of IT is huge, and it succeeded in many, many areas. So one way you need to look at the cutting edge that fits within the budget and see if there is an opportunity that do a change that will even save budget, go below the budgets. I don't think I ever worked on any project that exceeded the budgets, because you need just to know what is around you and find the most optimal. The one area where the budget wasn't enough is mobility in enterprise, and we know consumerization is going to wipe it out. You have to insist on consumerization of Wi-Fi, consumerization of devices. Just you have to implement some management. So this is normally, but the budget you would put it mostly that it doesn't impact the business. You don't want to impact the operation. You want the people who do business are satisfied, and you prioritize the risk and put risk management for areas. So I would stay always on the business side more than the IT side. The IT and the InfoSec guys, they cannot do much. We want to do much, achieve much, and then improve in an extreme programming. We're going to do this risk first, this risk next. So you cannot address security in one shot. So I'll prioritize it based on the business needs, and even I'm willing to take risk so the business succeed.
The best innovation tends to come from startups, and yet for a CIO or a CTO, it's less risk to buy from an incumbent. Let's say, a Cisco, a Microsoft, a Symantec in the security space. As a startup entrepreneur with potentially more innovative technology, how do you sell to a CTO or a CIO, given that the incumbent is always going to be less risk?
If I want to sell anything, first of all, I have to believe this is a moving forward strategy. You have to look to the future. If this is where, you have to know the trend and sell it within the trend. And you have to know the innovation, what is coming up, what is next. So if you position it in that way, you are going to be able to sell it. Huge companies cannot, as I said, huge ships cannot make a 90 degrees shift. You need to take a shortcut with a small company so you meet them somewhere or be ahead of them. So I would look at convince them with the trend, with the value proposition of this product, and the most important is the saving to go with that company has to be so significant. Like if you're all what you are saving with this small amount, they are not going to pay attention. You have to articulate how much is the saving, and you need to take the risk, and you start piloting it and show it. Don't talk. You need to show.
As the CTO of ITU, is there one particular security-related problem that if you saw the right vendor pitch, the right technology come in your door today, you'd buy it? What's the problem, and what's the solution that you'd be ready to write a check for?
I really like everything to be digital signatures, everything. So digital signature are very important because I want to improve the process. I want something that's done in a month or 2 months done in a few minutes. And I am all about automation. I worked with Northeast. I worked with Sacramento State. I worked with a few universities. It's not easy to change things and produce contracts, but I would say the area I would focus on is digital signature, make the process much, much faster. In terms of security, I would say all contracts should be digitally signed with the right authority and the right tools. So I would say digital signature. We did sign with DocuSign and others, but it's not only to invest in the technology. You have to implement this within within any corporation, honestly, because people want to be on mobile device, approve things, and doesn't have for spreadsheets and complicated things. So that's number one. Number two is authentication. We, because of our strong IT, my strong IT team and ITU, I don't need much about authentication. We teach this in the curriculum, how to do single sign-on, how to do multi-factor. This is standard in our curriculum. But if I didn't have those capabilities, I would write the check on authentication and multi-factor authentication and single sign-on. These are critical, those two pieces. And in terms of a lot of investment was done on firewalls and VPNs, etc. Once you migrate to the cloud and start getting out of the data center business, you end up saving a lot of money. And at that level, you want slick solutions for accessing your data. And, you might implement different edge of the network. For example, we need an edge of the network that is AI enabled. So there are a couple of companies I worked with. I would buy their solution. If you can block the attack before it hits the university, we cannot enforce every student to have antivirus, blah, blah, blah on their device. You cannot control the end user device. So anything on the edge of the network with powered by our AI, I would go for that.
What kind of AI would you expect to be performed at the client, at the edge?
All, like mostly viruses, malware, anything they can catch on the edge of the network. I'm a believer on the seamless edge of the network, not as heavy as the VPN, but I want to capture things with AI on the edge of the network. There are a couple of solutions I worked with. I don't want to list names, but I'm expecting no viruses, no malware. It needs to go beyond the firewall.
What about when the edge device is wearable with very limited memory and limited processing power?
I'm talking about the edge. I mean, on the edge of the network for our solution, between the server and the device. But you are talking about the device itself here. Devices, what's very critical on the device is the authentication, of course. Authentication is very, very critical. And the encryption on the device, being whatever it is. I see the trend is going to go, first of all, the devices and all those devices are critical because of connectivity. And if we follow connectivity between 3G, 4G, 5G, even 6G, the security is going to, the speed is increasing tremendously, if not exponentially. So I think those devices, we need to reduce the amount of software on the device. We have a lot of devices. We call it what do I want to call it? Potentially unwanted applications. That scares me a lot. This is one of my fears on those devices. You don't know what's on the device. Basically, if I ask anybody in my class, I do this always in the beginning, how many people know how many apps running on their iPhone? They don't know. We don't know what is in our devices because they can be, the OS can be altered, the devices can be altered. We don't know those edge devices. You called it edge, that's why I'm referring to it. But those devices, you need to take care of what OS they have and what are the plugins or the services or the apps running on those. And when they communicate with the network, you have to monitor the network. You have to monitor the network, and once your server got hit, before that server got hit, you need to analyze the traffic in real time and using AI, because a human cannot see those anomalies. What would also on those devices, I think the R&D and where we need really to spend time is understanding the future. If you take any device, and look at what is the killer app when the speed goes into 6G. What is that killer app? Browsing, looking at Facebook or browsing a movie, but you don't need 6G. That 6G might at one point we might be able to download to those devices 30 HD movies in like less than a minute. But the use case is very, very weak. I want to use the high speed for security. Can I, when I design a device, can I move all the complicated software into the backend? So I think we have the market is flooded with unnecessary software and operating system on the devices. In the future, I don't think those devices should be more than a sensor and a thin client. And actually, to answer your question, there shouldn't be any risk other than authentication, because everything should run on the back end. There is no need to bring it to the device, process it, and push it back to the network again. It is like a waste of bandwidth and waste of time. So I think the architecture of devices today is going to change in a big way. So I think we are now, I call this over-engineering. We are over-engineering what we have today, and the market is flooded with devices. If I ask anybody how many devices you have, actually he cannot count them. In the last 10 years, your garage is full of devices. So that's a waste of resources, waste of everything, waste of data. So I think everything is going to be re-architectured to minimize the risk. And above all that, it's going to make the cost of the device 1% of where it is today.
We recently had John Whaley, who's the CEO of a company that was acquired, actually, but called Unify ID, talking about a passwordless future and talking about biometric authentication and even more complicated combinations of factors to be able to authenticate a device a user without a password. Is that post-password future going to be a reality in the next decade?
Honestly, I didn't look at his articles or that idea. I am big on what do we call it? Buff technology, physically unclonable functions. There is a company called Intrinsic ID. Almost every device have memory, and the memory is when it's manufactured, the memory becomes like a fingerprint for the device. We are not utilizing that solution as a password. I think Intrinsic is on the right direction of authentication, because every device is unique. You need to have some aspects from the user, some aspects from the device, and the way we multi-factor is good, but is reasonable, but it's not accurate. Today, when we try to do face authentication, when it fails, it's prompt you for your PIN code. You are as strong as your weakest link. So basically, it's a PIN code. The way we are implementing it is just more, it's for convenience. So I think the future is going to be totally different. It should be location-based. It should be behavior. It should be a combination of many parameters. And again, I don't expect the device to be merely more complicated than a piece of glass and some transmitter and sensors. There is nothing on the device. There shouldn't be any storage on the device, in my opinion. Hence, the authentication become critical. So I think if the sensors have some memory, every device also, in the past, we used to add memory, remove memory. Right now, the device is sealed. So if you take the aspects of the hardware, it can be a very strong authentication. One of the factors, the PIN code is another one, or the password. I don't think these days I think we are doing well these days. People start to accept sending them a second factor authentication via SMS. I'm glad after 10 years they start to accept this. Banks are doing, even some banks probably didn't do it. But so I think the, the buff technology, physically unclonable, utilizing the differences between devices, it's impossible to reproduce two devices identical. So I can use that and then use a password, and here we go. I think there are many things, but authentication is very, very critical, and making it one authentication method, a single sign-on, is also very, very critical.
The topic that comes up often on this show is the future of jobs in an era of machine learning and AI. And you had mentioned the importance of automation in the context of potentially using AI to detect anomalous traffic patterns in a network. But let me flip that on its head. So when you're advising your students about skills that they can be investing in now that will be future-proof, what are the things that will never be good candidates for automation?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Honestly, I like my son to be like me. I have 18 and 20. I like them to be like me in the tech area. But my daughter, when she make her choice to be a nurse, I don't think AI will take her place in any way or shape. My son also want to do brain psychology and other things. And I didn't feel, I felt they did the right decision by themselves, and they don't need to be programmers at the moment, because programs might be generated by AI, a lot of things. But it all depends on how long we are looking. If I'm talking to student today, I made sure in every division in my department, all my students know AI. And understand security and AI. They need to understand it. And I believe security, AI, and 3D game design, like using Unity, these things should be not only taught in we teach it since probably 7-8 years. It should be taught in high schools, honestly, because I feel every instructor in high school teaches kids, oh, I saw this from MIT coming, how to use Java, like a logo and doing this. And in my experience in Dubai, I could get grade 5 to write a Visual Basic application. So doing a Unity app and combining the physics and the metaverse and understanding 3Ds are a piece of cake compared to where we were even last 5 years ago. So I think I would advise my students, 3D, understand Unity. It works on any platform. Understand, maybe for now, if you want to work on a lab or something, we don't use MATLAB, we use Python. So we offer courses in Python. We want everybody to know what's AI and machine learning. And when he design anything, even if you are a marketing person, you need to know what's AI capabilities. So I don't think AI is going to take everything. It's going to create millions of new jobs. We need to make sure our students are really educated in this. In marketing, they don't need to know data analytics. They need to know everything. So I think everybody at any stage of his life, he need to understand it so he can utilize it, rather than to feel, oh, I'm scared of this. AI is not going to replace everything. And your job might be based on that and that area,
Said it before on this show, but I firmly believe what can be predicted is better left to machines, but what requires empathy or rational judgment is better left to humans.
Absolutely. I think that's very correct. Thank you.
Now, we're about out of time, but I'm not going to let you go without answering one last question for me. So polish your crystal ball here, Dr. Samaha, and tell me, in 10 years, what's one thing that will be commonplace at work that today might just seem like science fiction?
And this is my dream, actually. I've been talking about it 7 years. I'm hoping every device in enterprise and at home disappear and it becomes a piece of glass. There is a video from Corning. I used to work with Corning R&D, and I think they did a day of glass. It's on YouTube. And an ITU, I work with Phil on the Always Connected. I think we need to utilize the new channels, like the fiber optics are giving us a huge bandwidth. I think Phil in his labs produced something around 10 gigabit per second or something. I hope to see every device and every desk have a piece of glass rather than a laptop or a PC. So I'm predicting I'm predicting there will be no iPhone, no laptops, nothing. It's a piece of glass, and you just draw the size of it, and everything runs on the back end on the cloud, because I don't need to run iOS or Android or Linux. Everything it's my choice. I could run any of those if I like. So if the industry work together towards that, which is very difficult, I think I like to see the enterprise support free, because today everything happens in our life IT fault. Their video is not working. This is not working. So I'd love to see enterprise pushing everything to the cloud, and the devices become dumb devices, like Back to the Future. It is like the terminals day, but it is wireless. And if a device broke, I was working with a hospital in Colorado. They have cabinets full of tablets, broken blah, blah, blah. They cannot throw it, you cannot throw anything in the garbage because it has the user's data and HIPAA and blah. So I'm hoping not to see those classes. I want to see when something broke, you just put it, trash it. It doesn't have any data, and it's so cheap. I want the iPhone to go from $1,000 to nothing, because if everything run on the cloud and every becomes a piece of glass, that's the future. We cannot keep and maybe you put a piece of goggles and the devices in front of you. I think there is a lot of politics into moving in that direction. We had with Motorola the web top concept, where the device, it goes through the phone. You have anything you want. You have navigation, you have music, you have multimedia. It is all running on the phone. I want to move those pieces into the data center with 6G or 5G, and I don't need any device to be demand support. I think in enterprise, all the devices should cost nothing and zero support, with a strong authentication and good sensors, like a touch piece of glass. That's what I love to see. And I think it's coming. It's available today, but I think there is politics in the business as well. So we're not reaching anywhere with that.
And this was sponsored by Corning, wasn't it?
Yeah, if you go to our work, this was prototype and productization in Motorola. I think we had great concepts, and we had there is a prototype by Corning also on YouTube. I think it's called The Day of Glass or something. If you look also web top concepts from that, I believe Motorola sold in several countries, like. Always the challenge is, if you want to do innovation, it always conflict with the spreadsheet of the CFO. So that's a problem.
Well, I tell you what, Dr. Samaha, when your vision becomes a reality and iPhones are free and all computing is performed on a piece of glass, then we're gonna have you back, and we'll be discussing that. What do you say?
I hope so.
Good. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I know I learned a lot. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the audience. Thank you, guys. I just want to mention I'm very active on many networks, but LinkedIn is our is where I can be reached easily. And ITU, I'm the head of the department, CTO. If you have any ideas for the audience, anybody want to contribute into anything, or even teach a course or something, I'm always reachable for everybody to please connect with me.
Well, there you have it. You know how to follow up with the great Dr. Samaha. Really enjoyed this episode. This is your host, Dan Turchin of AI and the Future of Work, signing off for this week, but we're back next week with another fascinating guest.